Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are 100% of Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. It's a podcast that talks about the news and does its best to stave off the existential despair.
This is you trying your best to do that?
This is 100% effort, buddy.
You are not succeeding.
Thank you.
What if we talk about the first news story, which might change things? Maybe it'll change.
Oh, let's see. What is it?
Iran and Israel are shooting at each other again.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
How do you feel? How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel warm inside? More of like a mid?
Yeah, it's stoking a certain rage, which is warming, I suppose.
On a scale of 0 to 10, would you say you're a promoter of this story?
A net promoter? No, I would have to say I'm deeply unsatisfied with this story. Would not recommend. Israel's back at it again. Israel and Iran were trading strikes. It's hard to imagine that the US would go about doing that with Iran striking one of their petrochemical facilities, to which Iran responded and struck a
Israel hit the chemical
Israel
facility,
hit
right?
the petrochemical facility in Iran, and according to Iran, they responded striking a site in Haifa in Israel. I
thought the timeline of this originally was that Israel hit southern Lebanon, and so Iran went, "Oi, stop hitting Lebanon!
Right, sorry,
There's
hit
a
Lebanon
ceasefire."
first.
Yes.
And then Israel went, "Oh, I guess it's on again." Hashtag on. And
It's a developing situation. My apologies.
Yeah.
So, Donald Trump shit posted on Shit Social. Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting, quote unquote, President Donald J. Trump. So seems like he's definitely in control of the situation. He's been on the cusp of a deal. He's in the pre-cum of a deal, has been for the last 4 months.
Memorandum of understanding to have
Memorandum of absolutely going to happen.
Yeah, they're really edging this deal, aren't they?
They're really edging. Yeah, he's gooning this deal for sure, to borrow a phrase. But
I mean, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but there was, a reported call between Netanyahu and Trump where, Trump was literally apparently saying, what the F are you doing?
I'm saving your ass. The only reason you're not in jail right now is because of me, which is like, based. Yeah. Huge if true.
Well, I mean, there's precedent. Remember that time ages ago that he just said to reporters being like that
neither of them knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. Was it Iran as well? No, hang on. Who was Israel picking a fight with then? I'm trying to remember. There's so many.
It was the conflict in Gaza, I believe, is what he was referring to.
All right, so the leaders of Hamas, were the other, because he said neither of them know what the fuck they're doing.
They've been at it so long and they're fighting, and neither of them know what the fuck they're doing.
So there's precedent for him saying, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It sounds like
to be a fly on the wall when that was happening.
We talked about it last week. He's lost control of the situation now, and Israel
to say lost control
are not going...
presupposes that he ever had control over the situation.
Yeah, that was my thought too.
It was more of a situation of opening Pandora's box and seeing what came out, and this is what comes out apparently is just a completely unrestrained Israel doing whatever the fuck it wants. As we said last week, it's
and that was the risk, right? Like we were
problematic.
Like, well, it's great that they're looking to have wards having a memorandum of understanding, but if Israel does whatever it wants, which it has done now, then
and has been doing historically in recent history,
then it doesn't matter what deal they don't have, because one of the conditions that Iran has for any particular ceasefire is that it includes the situation in Lebanon and Hezbollah. Yeah. So, this is also
Israel's
in
position.
The middle of this.
Israel's position is, I would like to bomb whoever I would like, whenever I would like, and so that's obviously at odds with that.
I have all these bombs burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah, all these American bombs that someone gave me.
There was also a ceasefire that apparently the Lebanese government had signed with Israel, which Hezbollah rejected. So it's
obviously Hezbollah is like a faction within the Lebanese government, but obviously the Lebanese government has only so much power to sort of influence them, and so it's kind of this sort of rogue sort of shadow state within a state situation that they're dealing with there. And I think from Lebanon's perspective, they don't want to risk starting another civil war to actually like go to bat to enforce this peace deal, right? Because it would obviously bring back a lot of very unpleasant history in Lebanon, as one might imagine. So it's not good. It's bad.
Good. So
my official analyses, it's bad.
It's bad. There is this, amongst the chatter that this week there were reports and tweets being sent out and interviews being had that, oil reserves are starting to get low in particular countries and for particular companies, that the oil prices have stabilised, have actually dropped a bit, but that is because we're eating into the strategic reserves. So there will become a point. They did say May back in March, April. Now, we're saying July here in June, but that at some point those stockpiles will run out.
At some point, the reckoning's going to come. If the strait's still closed, like bad shit is going to escalate. It's going to keep happening.
Yeah, well, and the part of this, I know, as you mentioned before, George, it's a developing situation, so a lot of this is coming out just in every live blog on every news outlet is talking about this. But the comment on it that I thought was interesting was, as you say, Trump's been like edging a deal for ages.
I'm so close.
We're so close.
I'm
we're
incredibly
so close to a deal.
Don't stop. Oh my God.
Which is presumably why he's telling Netanyahu to fucking quit it, because we're so close to settling this thing we started.
But Netanyahu obviously doesn't give a shit. Trump has no control over him, right?
But
he's just doing whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, but the other element of it was that Iran have been talking about how they want to open the strait and be allowed to charge people fees to go through it.
That's the toll booth
which they want, and the US is like, fucking no. So I'm wondering how damn close to a deal are they if they're still saying that?
Well, the latest reframing I heard is, we're gonna charge. It's not a toll booth. We're gonna charge for navigational assistance, presumably to avoid the mines that
to avoid the mines that we've put there.
So we're not gonna. It's not a toll booth, but if you don't want to run into any of those mines that we put there, we might help you navigate for a fee. Like, it's the exact same shit, right?
Yeah. So that's where I guess it's just sort of take with a grain of salt how close to the deal-gasm Donald Trump actually is, because I don't think they're close.
They're nowhere near it.
No,
they're nowhere near it.
Take it with a grain of nuclear dust. We gotta have the dust. I'm hungry for dust.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to booking any flights anytime soon. Speaking of travel, do we want to come back home? Stick homegrown. Let's not leave Australia.
Considering the homegrown news, I don't want to be here either. So I mean,
yeah, but hey. It's
Antarctica's quite nice this time of year.
There's plenty of awful fascist crazy bullshit to explore in your own backyard. You don't need to travel overseas to see things like the Pantheon. You don't want to see the Pantheon, the Eiffel Tower. We've got things like the Big Banana and fucking One Nation right here at home. You should be happy.
So, speaking of unhappy, it seems as though One Nation has surged yet again to new heights. In recent polling, presumably as a result of them never having governed in any impactful way and just being political outsiders at a time of low voter confidence. It does have the benefit.
Populists with no consequences, right?
Yeah.
Like, they can just say shit.
Yeah, because they've got no record to run on. So 4 federal polls have been released since last Sunday. One Nation has taken the primary vote lead from Labor in both the Redbridge and YouGov polls and is tied with Labor in the Roy Morgan poll. Labor held a very small primary vote lead in the Fox and Hedgehog poll. So it
that's
really
significant because that's the first time. So we've talked about One Nation polling higher than the coalition over the last few months, but this is the first time really that they've consistently polled ahead of Labor.
Yeah, that they've been the preferred party in the country.
Correct.
Based on pollings.
Which has led a lot of people to be like, to start asking the question. And now I guess...
Do we start to panic, crack over each other's heads and feast on the goo inside?
No, but people have started asking the question, which means that the idea is now in people's heads, which is
Prime Minister Pauline.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
How would you, and they've been
I feel
asking
sick.
her how she would feel to be Prime Minister, but this is despite the fact that she's a
Oh,
senator.
it's, I've got
and
something to tell you about it today. I'm going to be the fucking Prime Minister. Oh.
She cannot be Prime Minister because she is a senator.
She's
and
a
you
senator.
need to be in the lower house to do that. But
with
yeah,
these numbers, you could easily see her running for a lower house seat in some bumfuck Queensland nowhere seat and winning it. And then as the leader of the party, she would, default be the Prime Minister if they were to win enough seats to form government. It seems unlikely at this stage because of preference flows. But man, when the thing that's standing between you and a Pauline Hanson fuck ministership is the preference flows and nothing else, that's a bad spot to be in as a country. That's not a good spot.
I can't say I love it.
And the thing is, if
I have notes,
if our we always talked about how Australia's got such a great fucking voting system. We're so fucking good at voting. We shit on everyone else when it comes to voting because of our preferences and all this sort of, it really helps to insulate us from the rise of fascism. And it's like, to an extent when they're polling at 15% or 20%, when they're polling higher than the current government, and they're now the de facto opposition, the preference flows actually help them because it means that all of the batshit conservatives that we have in the Liberal Party and the Nationals and all of these other little fringe parties, if they are now the de facto opposition, will flow through to them rather than the other way around. And so it actually puts them in a two-party preferred situation, could actually put them in a commanding position to form government.
I think the caveat's always been we've talked about, particularly in our voting system compared to the American one, of that it's great to be able, that it allows us to flow our preferences down to, we can support parties that we would want to give our number one preference to, while still not meaning we're just taking away from who's probably going to win and is more
you don't have a
what you'd rather than the other. But
of first past the post where the progressive vote gets split three ways and therefore a conservative gets in, right?
Gets crazy. But that system, no system is bulletproof when the fascist party just seems more appealing to people
Gets the majority
than the non-fascists.
Yeah.
No systems can protect against that.
Yeah, because that's democracy, actually, in action, is that the party that is more
That's
preferred
the system working.
wins, right?
Yeah,
so when
yeah.
more people prefer fascists to boring milquetoast centrists, that's what you get, right?
Yes, yeah. The concern here isn't, I guess, the downstream concern is One Nation getting more power. But I feel the headline here shouldn't be that Pauline might be the Prime Minister, more that majority of people who are polled want her to be. Is the terrifying headline there, right? It's less about Pauline, it's more about all these people saying that she's great.
And to your point, Adam, a couple of weeks ago, we said the main beneficiaries of the Labor budget are going to be One Nation. I think I dismissed you. I would like to formally apologise here on the podcast. You actually had the correct take on that, and I full-heartedly believed that people would not vote for Pauline Hanson because she's a dangerous moron. But I actually overestimated the Australian public in that regard. It turns out we're a bit fashy.
So these polls were all done post. Well, at least three of them were post the budget. So the budget landed, and they were
one of them actually had two polls since the budget, and it's the lead for One Nation has increased in those two polls. So it seems as though
we wanted Labor, we knew,
frighteningly correct. I would describe it. Yeah,
because again, the budget doesn't do anything for people's circumstances now. They feel forgotten.
And apparently, actually, on closer inspection of the negative gearing element that they changed, I'm actually less impressed with it than I was, because you can still use carry forward losses to offset your income, and it's more just that the government is kind of offsetting when you pay the tax. So with negative gearing, it's you pay less tax now and you maybe pay more tax later. With the proposed negative gearing changes, it's more that you'll pay more tax now, but you will still pay less tax later. So it's like,
well, yeah, they haven't
good.
passed. They haven't passed the Senate yet, and they will need Green support.
We're going to need Pauline and Day Hanson to take a look at it first.
Or
What's going on here then?
So look, there is a possibility that the Greens may get them to potentially change it. I think it is going to a committee, for instance.
Committee, where all good legislation is drafted.
Yes. Yum.
Yes. Watered down? No, watered up.
The key thing that some of these polls asked were, do we feel the budget was good for the nation or bad? And most people were saying bad.
Most people hate it, yeah.
Now, keep in mind, these polls, who are the people that respond to polls? I don't, and how do they do this? Now, some of them are done online, some of them are done in other ways, but like some of them are by phone. Mm-hmm. There's different ways you can do polling. My point being is, depending on the way in which you are asking the question and how those people are being reached, that can influence obviously your results. Now, I understand these companies do take measures to try and adjust for that, right, and to compensate who they're contacting.
So, for example, like one of these polls was done for Sky News, and obviously, so you're relying heavily on their readership, which skews very conservative. And so, but they take
Sky News viewers, I'm assuming, aren't huge fans of a Labor budget, just generally.
but however, as you say, Adam, these are large polls. The YouGov poll, for example, was 1,401 respondents, which is statistically significant. That's within a 1 or 2 percentage points of error to be able to, with modeling and with, sort of corrections for the skewness of the demographics and things like that, be able to model within a 1 or 2% degree of accuracy what this means for the broader Australian populace. It's statistically significant to get over 1,000 responses. It means something, right? Even if it's, maybe partially biased.
So we wanted Labor to expand political capital, and this is what this means. So in reality, we've been calling for it for years. So, and we've been the ones saying it, right, on this podcast.
Is it our fault? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying we got what we asked for.
Well, we got...
But the difference is, one nation has been the beneficiary, which we didn't foresee, say, 2 years ago, right? We thought it had just hurt the Libs, but in this case here, it's hurt them,
Labor's unfortunately found themselves with the worst of both worlds. They've expended a bunch of political capital, and everyone's unhappy with what they've done. So it's kind of the hate campaign in action. You're seeing the propaganda mill laundering all of these ideas. The fact that most people, according to some of these polls, think that they're worse off as a result of the budget is ludicrous, because literally the only people it negatively affects are those who are already well off. So by definition, you can only sort of put that down to the fact that it's gone through the propaganda spin cycle and come out to Labor's disadvantage on the other side. But to our earlier point, it doesn't they didn't expend the capital on doing enough to materially address people's, material circumstances in a positive way that's visible and actionable and immediate. So that's the problem. They've expended the political capital, they've taken the hit for it, and they've also gotten the benefit of people feeling as though it's going to positively impact them. So they've lost on both ends. Great job, Labor. Good job sticking to that middle road. How's it working out for you?
Yeah, it negatively affects people who are already very wealthy, but it doesn't exactly positively affect the others. It just kind of nothing burgers them, right?
Yeah, at least for many years. Yeah.
In the short term.
Yeah. The other, Friendly Geordie's had a pretty good.
God, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Here we go.
But yeah, I mean, he had a joke that was like, it's it's either the asset class that are affected or it's the aspiring asset class which are just the people of our generation and younger that have this idea.
What do you mean I can't do a CGT discount on my fucking automated crypto trading, bro? What are you talking about? They're trying to kill aspiration, bro. I can't fucking deal with this government no more.
Similar to the joke he made with that accent as well. But
I'm allowed to do the accent.
He's Polish or something. I don't know.
I'm allowed to do the fucking voice.
Anyway,
Adam, you thought that was a Polish accent?
I don't know, Polish.
Anyway. Bro, it's fucking me from Western Sydney, a classic Polish person.
I don't know if he's some sort of got European heritage. I can't remember which.
It's me, Jeffrey Zeppi, bro.
So yeah, the polls are bad.
The polls aren't showing well in the polls.
Yeah. The polls they know good.
So the next state election, I think, is New South Wales, I think.
Yes,
from memory.
Next year, I want to say, or is it this year? Oh, I should know that. I live here.
Next year. It's so we'll see how the Minns government makes out of this, and I think that'll be a good predictor for us as to how badly Labor is going to get dicked over at the next federal election.
Really frustrating because Chris Minns is the fucking dipshit who let jackbooted cop thugs just beat the shit through people to appease a genocidal president. So
normal
it's kind of
progressive stuff, Tom.
Yeah, so it's just like, we gotta stop one nation, fuck. Who do you support? Oh, the guy who fucking, bootlicked the Israeli president. Damn it!
Yeah.
Come on!
It's, I really did think, based on some, polling prior to this, that the support for One Nation had sort of crested. It had sort of hit its high water mark and we were back on the downslope again. But the numbers say no. Computer says no. The thing that really surprised me was the leader, sort of polling around the leader's net favorability rating. So Anthony Albanese has slumped 10 points to -19. And the only party leader
it goes below zero?
Yeah, so it's your supporters minus your detractors, right? So
right.
It's so think of it as a reference point to 50%. So if you're at -19, it means most people fucking hate your guts. And Pauline Hanson's is up 1 point to net zero, which is hilarious because she does not believe in net zero.
Yeah, damn. Is she gonna oh god, Malcolm Roberts is just gonna absolutely deny this result. That is the most corrupted data I think
the data's been corrupted.
Possibly be. Net zero.
Anytime he hears net zero, his bug eyes pull out of his fucking head.
Yeah.
And that was the Redbridge poll I think you're referring to there, yeah?
Yeah, there was this conversation article is a summary of a number of polls. Yeah, that is the Redbridge poll, which is the worst, I believe, of the 4 polls for Labor. But it's not looking good. You can see across the plurality of the polling here that it's not looking good for Labor. And whilst they might be temporarily insulated by preference flows at the next election, to the extent to which they might still retain government, you're still looking at a potential one nation opposition. And, are we talking one election cycle after that where one nation could be in power? Who knows? It depends on how pissed off people are. And now we are 2 years away from an election, so I would stress that there is time to come back from this. But I think Labor really needs to dig its heels in and start delivering for everyday people, because otherwise...
Burn some more of that political capital, friends.
Yeah, bro, don't focus on surplus. Don't focus on any of that sort of stuff. You really just need to get some fucking money out the door to improve people's lives, right?
Michelle Bullock's looking at you going, bruh.
Fuck Michelle Bullock. Michelle Bullock can suck a fuck, okay?
Inflation actually did go down, I
don't care.
month.
Forget inflation. I'm happy to run at 4% inflation if we've got an economy that's growing and an economy that doesn't have Pauline Day fucking Hanson as its head, okay?
Yeah, I mentioned
run the economy hot. Fuck it.
She'll have a great time negotiating with our Asia Pacific partners. Just a great time.
Indeed.
Yeah, saying that we're being swamped by them.
Of course,
like I said, we've got 2 years to come back from this, and I do think closer to an election, people they call it coming home. They tend to come home to their party of choice. So I think once you see the Labor, sort of election, propaganda machine firing up closer to an election, you might see some normalization here, but I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't bet the house on it. They need to start moving now, because they've got less than 2 years. They've got 23 months starting fucking today to pull these numbers back into something that looks, sensible and not insane. So, get started now, guys.
Two more budgets with Jim. Old Jimmy and his budgets. I'm assuming Albanese
before he
hasn't...
gets yoted into the fucking into the wilderness with a Pauline Hanson prime ministership.
I was going to say they could dump Albanese for Jim, but I think Jim's numbers are worse than Albanese's. So
Jim's
not doing too good lately.
Yeah. He is the literal messenger they sent out to shoot. But
look, I mean, that's tough policy is always generally not well liked when it's released. So this is, just the way politics works.
Yeah. Well, what are people going to be voting for if they're voting for One Nation, though? I think will then be the next major question, which came a bit to the forefront this week when probably the second most famous One Nation person, Barnaby Joyce, former Nationals leader, Deputy Prime Minister, just living beetroot.
Barnaby the living beetroot Joyce.
Yeah, pretty much. Frequenting planter boxes in Braddon in Canberra. Yeah, so he has been doing the rounds, being maybe as one of the more famous One Nation people, and appeared last week on Andrew Bolt's show on Sky News, and made some comments.
Nightmare blunt rotation. Right
I was going to say this is the worst game of fuck, marry, kill, and there's only two of them. I think fuck. Would it be like? I don't know. Maybe
is that
no. I think
kill yourself. That's the only option. Kill yourself first.
Yeah, I was going to say no. Let me answer this. I think it would be.
Wait. We obviously don't advocate the murder of any politicians. This is a comedic exercise.
I think, my answer to this probably
let's say fuck, marry, defenestrate.
No, I think it would be, I'd probably have to marry Andrew, I don't know,
fuck
God. Barnaby, because he must be the world's greatest lover to be able to have two families that he started, and then kill myself.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, it would be the
kill yourself first, then it negates having to make the other choices.
But have you lived if you haven't done the other two?
Yeah, have you lived if you haven't slept with Barnaby Joyce? Because
the world's greatest lover, I think we all agree.
Apparently, the evidence, why reject all the evidence we have? He is clearly an unstoppable fuck machine. Anyway, back to the actual news of this. He got on to Andrew Bolt's show, so it was a cross interview from Canberra. So I think that's why that'll be important later. They weren't in the same room. This was like a live cross kind of thing. Barnaby had some comments that were a little interesting. I guess the context of the question coming up to this, or I don't know, George, if you've gone back far enough into this to see Pauline's.
No, we haven't gone. But essentially the thrust of it is the One Nation has announced a prospective policy, should they ever be unfortunate enough to enter government, where they're going to get people that are. Well, here's the thing: whether they're referring to Australian citizens or just permanent residents, anyone who's not an Australian citizen is going to be forced to sell their home within 2 years.
Yeah,
to not shock the market too much.
To not shock the market too much, and under the guise of wanting to reduce foreign ownership of property.
It's a real
kind of how
anti-foreigner racist screed. So unlike Pauline, that's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
there's a first bit. So let's hear Barnaby's response to this question from Andrew Bolt.
Andrew Bolt, ever the diligent toady, wanted a little bit more detail on this absurd, racist shit heap of a policy, and decided to question Barnaby further. And Barnaby, having definitely read the documents, was in a position to answer. So here's Barnaby's absolutely clarifying response.
Well, One Nation has its own policy on stopping foreign ownership of housing. Here's Pauline Hanson.
We must stop foreign ownership of housing indefinitely, give foreign owners 2 years to sell up so we don't suddenly flood the market.
Yeah, reasonable. We'll give them 2 years. The housing market won't collapse under that kind of nationalisation strategy. That's going to work out great.
If not sold, the property will be repossessed by the federal government.
Something hasn't been...
Just classic small government things, nationalising...
repossessing
people's houses.
Don't get me started on the state. Anyway, keep going.
Is the state going to pay a fair value for the home if they don't? This would be a gigantic budgetary exercise that the Australian budget would not be able to defend in any circumstances. Anyway. It's a nightmare policy for a number of reasons. But let's have Barnaby Joyce's rejoinder.
Been quite explained about that as far as I can make out. Would that mean that permanent citizens who are also not Australians, but permanent residents, that they would have to sell their houses as well?
Well, become a permanent resident. I mean, commit yourself totally to this nation and your problems are solved.
I think he's trying to say become an Australian citizen there, as he clarifies later. But just furthers to just
George, just play the clip. Just play the clip. You need to hear it. Just play the clip.
Just want to contextualize
just play the clip.
That Barnaby's
He'll
an idiot.
contextualize it. Play the clip.
You have a foot in two camps, then in two camps you'll have your feet. Become an Australian citizen, comply with the Australian ethos, commit yourself to this nation, and this nation commits itself to you. But this idea, I don't particularly want to be an Australian, but I want the benefits of being an Australian. No, we're going to be distinct about that. You have to be an Australian citizen if you want the benefits that are indelible about that.
What about joint ownership? It doesn't matter. That's fine. This is a nonsense policy.
Just play.
And that includes buying your own home. A permanent resident under one nation would not be allowed to buy their own home here.
Well, the issue is that we have to work out how we have the housing stock for people who are. We're concerning ourselves with people who are.
I got the problem. I'm just, Barnaby, I'm totally with, I'm understanding all that. I'm just
totally with you on the racism part. I'm just trying to understand how it works.
Wondering, does it apply to permanent residents as well?
Well, it does. That's my belief in the policy. Right. It does.
Narrator, it didn't.
And we want to make sure that, you become a permanent resident. Become a permanent resident, and become an Australian citizen. Excuse me, become an Australian citizen, and that's going to deal with the issue, isn't it? Become an Australian.
One Nation supporters will love that. Just an influx of Australian citizens from abroad in the next 2 years trying to get around this.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that might be a bit of a issue for a number of people, but we shall see how they resolve that. 2 polls.
Yeah. So then that's sort of the bit there. So the fact that he corrects himself to be like, I'll just become Australian citizens then. Like you have to have. What does he say? If you've got 2 feet in separate camps, you'll have 2 feet in separate camps. I'm like, okay.
What a folksy piece of homespun wisdom there from Barnaby, drunk in the Planter's Joyce.
And the implications of what he's just said there is that people who are, because there's permanent residency here in Australia where you do not have the rights of citizenship, like to vote and all that sort of stuff, but that you are allowed to permanently reside here. And this idea is being you are not allowed to own property and we forced to sell and be evicted probably from your home if you don't, is the implications of what he's just said there. Crazy.
Neither here nor there, but I seem to recall a similar policy in Nazi Germany where people of Jewish descent weren't allowed to own property. It was actually confiscated from them. It's neither here nor there. Just
how did that turn out?
A little historical reminder. I don't know. I don't recall. Yeah, right. I'd have to look it up. I think badly. I think from recollection.
Right. But... I think that must have been in the textbooks after the Tiananmen Square chapter.
No. I recall the Holocaust.
Of course.
Yeah. Bad.
Yeah, so, and what happened after this is what's amazing. So the clip that you just heard comes from the Bolt report, where Andrew Bolt's actually, rather than just publishing this interview, he's telling the story of how the interview came about. And he clarifies between that clip and the clip we'll play you in a moment, that he ended the interview with Barnaby, thank you, Barnaby, for your time, interview's over. And while they were still on camera and mic'd up and stuff like that, Barnaby took from his live cross position a couple phone calls, spoke to some people,
Barnaby,
and then he left.
Yeah,
and then he left. And Andrew Bolt said, okay, all right, and was moving on. And then Barnaby came back and said that there was a clarification that he would like to make. Could we jump on again? Like, could we kickstart up the interview again? I just want to clarify something I said before. And Andrew Bolt said, okay. And this is what happened.
It turns out I'm a big fuckhead.
And I agreed. Here it is. Okay, Barnaby, you have a change of policy.
Well, I believe, obviously, in clarity of exactly what was there, this policy is formative But on further investigation and discussions with One Nation, no, we are not going to be kicking permanent residents out of their house. This policy, as it progresses on, we have to absolutely make certain that there's no unnecessary fallout of it. The concept is quite clear. It is that we want people to progress through to Australian citizenship, and but that should not come at the expense of permanent residents being divested of their house. It was an issue that needed further clarity. I've got it, and that's it.
That's it. Turns out I didn't read the fucking brief and just kind of took a punt live on TV as to what my policy was. So
I just think he hadn't had enough coffee. He couldn't even get his words out. I don't know whether Bolt threw him at the start of the interview. That was absolute train wreck television.
And these are the people
don't get on air
that
if you
most
don't know the
Australians want to run the fucking country. Is this group of absolute fucking basket case disaster morons?
And I think, I never thought I'd say this, but to Andrew Bolt's credit, the rest of his piece sort of there, I watched like some snippets of it. Like the context he was giving there was saying, like bigging himself up a little bit, but being like that he had a choice to whether or not he, after he got that clarification, because the interview wasn't necessarily live, that like after he got that clarification, he could have done some edits to make sure that, okay, no, that's the clarification on the policy, so that's the policy answer that he gave me for that. I could have kept in the
No, he wanted to go viral.
In the footage. Could have kept in the footage of, like, he could have included the footage of Barnaby taking the 2 phone calls and all that sort of stuff. And he was being like, but that wouldn't have been fair to Barnaby. I'm like, don't be fair to Barnaby. Fuck him. But and saying, no, I think I need to show they're making up policy as they go.
Oh, look at me. I have a little pat on the back for doing some journalism once in a while.
Yeah, so I'm like,
look at Andrew. How good am I? Can I have a Walkley, please?
Yeah.
Can I have a Walkley?
I never thought I would be like, Andrew Bolt's on the right side of something going on.
So he did the bare minimum required of a journalist.
Keep in mind, Andrew the Bolt Report is an editorial style show, so it's generally him talking to the camera. He'll have interviewees on, but he espounges opinion as opposed to necessarily
espounges.
Espounges? That's well, whatever the word is.
You keep coming up with words, buddy. Expounds? Propounds? Expounds upon?
That, whatever. Anyway.
No, I like expound. Let's use expound. He also on the Bolt Report, he randomly does whiskey tasting like scenes. I remember
Sky News is wild, man. I blocked it from my TV, but every now and then, you get little bits of weirdness peek through. It just seems like a weird time over there.
That coming through on something like The Weekly or whatever, where they were like, and now let's round up all the times Andrew Bolt just talks about whatever whiskey he's drinking at the moment.
He's a white guy in his 60s. There's only so many things he can talk about. It's World War II history, about how the right wing of politics is being underserved, and whiskey. Those are his things. And
it's
honestly, I'm like 26 years from that. I'm basically there. I'm just on the other side of the political spectrum.
It's so crazy to be like, I'm obsessed with World War II history, and also
but the bad
right-wing
stuff.
people are getting a rough time. It's like,
but
how are you? Are we looking at the same
stuff.
history? No, of course we're not. But so
let's talk about Rommel and how Rommel was a good guy. It's like, no, except he wasn't Greg Bavino. Like all these fucking weird little guys are such World War II history nerds, and they seem to have taken all of the wrong fucking lessons from it, as far as I can tell.
What I'd like to know is how Malcolm Roberts felt about Barnaby Joyce's off-the-cuff policy there.
Now, do you mean Malcolm Roberts?
Malcolm Roberts, the living
person?
soul.
The living soul, Malcolm Roberts, the corporation.
Yeah, Malcolm Roberts, the living soul. I do not comport to your rules or respect your laws or constitution.
I'm
assuming if he could not be an Australian citizen and still do whatever he does, he would fucking love it, right?
Well, he doesn't subscribe to Australia, the corporation.
Yeah. But apparently Barnaby, even in Barnaby's clarification, he said, well, of course we want to be channeling people to go down the path to citizenship. Is that how Malcolm? Is that how you feel?
Is that
how
believe?
you and your sovereign citizen bullshit feel?
I'm getting a call from Pauline. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta see. I'll tell you what my opinion on this is in a sec. Once I've
Once
I've had Pauline
fucking
reach her hand up my fucking asshole, and maybe she can just articulate my mouth directly, and that would be easier. Fucking idiot. Fucking idiot, Barnaby.
so many things wrong with that policy that, one, legally it wouldn't work with the Constitution the way it is. Secondly, like, it won't have the intended effect. Thirdly,
it would break the fucking economy. There's fucking 400,000 permanent residents. What do you do in cases of split ownership of a property where one person is a citizen and one person's a permanent resident or not?
Yeah.
Like, it is by definition a populist, nonsense, unenforceable policy that would break the fucking economy and disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of people. It is quite possibly, and I say this having extensively looked at all of the things that Pauline Hanson has said over the years, it may quite possibly be the dumbest thing she's ever said. And that's a high bar to clear because it's fucking Pauline Hanson.
Yeah, like
what
this
about the
is,
squat toilets? That was,
yeah, I was going to say this is Pauline.
It was dumb, but it was fun.
If you can't use what do you call it? A Western toilet? Like, what do we call the non-squat toilet? Just like if you can't use one of those, you can't do taxes. Like, that was one of hers. That's crazy.
It was dumb, but she was a fringe figure then, and so it was treated with the amount of respect that it was deserved, which is that it was laughable, right? This woman is now within striking distance of being one of the most powerful political voices in the country. And so when she says things like, we're going to nationalize people's houses, kick them out, there's going to be a fucking fire sale on Australian houses because all damn immigrants are going to get kicked out, that is, it's not only divisive and stupid, but it's also incredibly dangerous. Like, if we actually live in a world where that occurred, we would be in the darkest timeline of Australian politics. Like, it is aggressively bad in how stupid and dangerous and reckless it would be. To treat it even as a policy position is to forego any level of seriousness that one might have when discussing policy. It is a dumb fucking joke, just like Pauline Hanson. Come at me, fucking internet commenters. Come at me, bro. I'm fucking sick of you fucking Pauline Hanson stands in our fucking comments. Get out. We don't want you here.
George, I don't know what you expected putting things out on the internet. Don't even look at the comments under that Andrew Bolt video. I expected them to be fans of what he said. No, they're all One Nation people.
It's honestly disgusting, the level of disgusting, vile, racist, xenophobic horseshit. We're at white Australia again. We've come full circle. Like, it really is absolutely fucking disgusting. And it makes me ashamed of the country that we're in, where this is now the prevailing view, that these fucking obvious dumb cunts who can't string two fucking words together may actually be in a position of dictating policy for our entire country. It's disgusting. It actually makes me feel vomitous. I can't stand that this is our country.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna say maybe Anthropic will solve all your problems, George.
No, we're not there yet.
No, we're going to deal with the submarines first.
The submarines.
So, Aukus is still a thing. Under Aukus, we're paying the United States hundreds of billions of dollars.
368 billion as of today's count.
That's the total budget.
It fluctuates.
Cost. We're giving them a percentage of that directly to enhance their shipbuilding program.
Oh, yeah, we're building manufacturing facilities on their shore and all this sort of... Yeah. It's basically a golden fucking hand job that we're giving the Americans to get these submarines.
Yeah. The concept here is that in the short term, Australia was meant to get a couple of new and a couple of used Virginia-class attack submarines, which are nuclear submarines.
Nuclear-powered.
Yes. Nuclear powered.
Not nuclear launching submarines. I'm saying nuclear powered submarines. I thought that was pretty
surely
clear.
They could do both.
In this case, they're nuclear powered. But anyway.
Not nuclear armed, was my understanding.
No, they're not nuclear armed. Well, not in Australia's case.
You keep saying after a pause, and it's concerning me like you know something about this that I don't know.
They are not nuclear armed. In terms of what Australia would be using.
Do you want to come back in like 20 minutes and revise that statement, or because it feels like maybe you're not sure?
Whether or not the US can fit them with nuclear warheads in some shape or fashion, I'm not sure. But anyway, the point being here is, we're getting a couple of new ones, a couple of used ones. That's what we're meant to be getting. And and that's in exchange for us giving them money to help them with their shipbuilding program, or their boat building program in this case, because submarines are called boats. The US has now changed its tune, and they're telling, or the Australian government has announced that they are only going to be getting used submarines instead of new ones. And this is, apparently a saving, according to Richard Miles. Like it's cheaper for us this way.
Oh, great. So we can put the money back into the NDIS, right?
But
Adam?
no.
Right?
No. Ostensibly, it's a worse deal in terms of what we're actually getting, because while the boats would have, still 10, 20 years of lifespan or whatever it may be, they're not brand new. So you're getting sort of half the lifespan of the actual vessel, right?
Great. So
Right.
it's the same deal, and we're probably going to spend the same amount of money on it eventually. And the product that we're getting is used, and it's got a shorter lifespan.
Well,
am I understanding that all correct? If we get them,
is,
because we may not get them, the US might decide actually we need them, and you get nothing, right?
the upshot is, apparently from Richard Miles' point of view, is that they're tried, tested, and we know they work, and that they're a known figure, and there won't be any troubleshooting.
Yeah. She only drove it on Sundays. Pull the other one, Richard.
Yeah, but we're still paying the same amount of money we were paying when we thought we were getting new ones, right?
I don't know. Apparently there are the words Richard Miles were using were along the lines of there will be savings associated with it, but as to what they, or how
Right.
what
Great.
those
and that's
are,
the
we're not
level
sure.
of policy detail that we love and can expect from the Labor government.
But really,
That's great.
what's happened here is, and it's been a known issue for a while, is that they need to be able to fulfill all of the Aukus requirements plus their own needs. The US needs to be doing 2 boats a year out of their shipyards. They're currently doing 1.2, so they can't meet their own requirements, let alone Aukas's.
Crazy idea.
Outside.
What if we buy the submarines from the Chinese? Because I hear they're pretty good at manufacturing stuff. We might actually get the submarines if we buy them from the Chinese. I understand it's a hedge against China, but I think in the interests of actually getting a fucking submarine at the end of this, it might be worth considering.
Well, the French and the Japanese are sitting here laughing at us at this point. But
yeah, I was going to say, I recall the French being pretty good at this, and maybe were we talking to them at one point?
Macron laughs in French.
Anyway, this announcement has meant that David Shoebridge, who's the Green spokesman on defence matters, to come out and say that we need to dump the program again. So that's been in the headlines over the last week or so.
Because as you might feasibly guess, it's a dog shit program for which we pay everything and get nothing. As former Prime Minister Paul motherfucking Keating said, there's one nation up there that's paying for everything, and it's fucking us. This is a dog shit deal.
Yeah. Remember, we are paying them approximately 33.5 million beers. Remember when we reframed this into beers?
It's a lot of beers.
Yeah.
I think we'd be better served with a national strategic beer reserve. I'm going to say it again. Yeah. Could do worse.
The other main partner in Aukus is the UK. We're currently about to go over, and Miles and Wong are about to go over and make friends in Europe to talk about it. But
let me guess. Are they gravely concerned about anything?
There'll be fears. I mean, at the moment,
they'll be gravely concerned about Ukraine, gravely concerned about Gaza, gravely concerned about Iran, gravely concerned. Just a lot of grave concern. Just waves of grave concern emanating from Penny Wong. So
yeah, I was going to say, has anyone
Definitely
checked
concerned.
on Penny Wong's frown? It must be. It needs probably needs some looking at. Might need a massage. There's a lot of tension building
probably
up there.
a phase 3 frown. I think at this stage it's metastasizing.
Maybe a little finger wag.
But I guess the thing to note here is that the UK at the moment, I saw an article this morning, has issues with their own nuclear attack submarines. Like they're all currently being serviced, for instance. So,
it's in the shop.
Yeah, it's in the shop.
This concept that
another 15,000 Ks on it.
We got a loaner.
And...
You know how they get you bring it to the shop and they sometimes give you a loaner, but it's shit. It's never as good.
Oh no, really? I find my experience they give you a loaner and it's a car you'd never be able to afford. Like I've taken in my shitty secondhand car and there's like, this has sat nav.
I did get a we currently have our car in a shop, and we did get a pretty swish new rental, and I was like,
well, there you go.
Just have to
Yeah.
Well, maybe
rebook
I'm
this
just getting
repairing.
stooged. Maybe my insurance
yeah.
is stooging me. Who knows?
Got a loaner car once where the Google Maps thing was like a heads-up display in the windscreen, and I
That's
was
pretty
like,
sick.
this is some Minority Report shit.
Yeah.
It's in your brain. Yes, the point being here
I can
is
predict crimes now.
Yeah.
Hit and runs primarily, but crimes nonetheless.
the point being here is that both the UK and the US are struggling with their submarine programs at the moment, and so as to how Australia will be positioned into the future for the AUKUS Pact, it is they're saying it's all good, but it's not going to be all good.
We are getting fucked on this deal. That's
Yeah.
the headline. We're getting fucked on this. Every time we revisit it, it gets worse. Like, you can look at that fucking Four Corners documentary from a year ago where they were saying, are we actually going to get these fucking submarines? And the Americans like, oh, yeah, I got you, bro. Like, everything's going to be awesome. We're
Yeah.
absolutely hell or high water. We're getting you those fucking submarines, bro. Totally. And then, like, smash cut to now. It's like, well, they are going to be lightly used.
Lightly soiled.
Slightly soiled,
Look, we
but
took-
absolutely, generally pretty good submarines. And if another year from now, it's going to be, they're missing a couple of fins, but they're absolutely operational. And then a year down the track again, it's going to be, okay, so about the submarines, we're not
Yeah.
giving you any, and you can go fuck yourself, and we're going
Yeah.
to keep the money. Thanks very much.
Yeah, here's your submarine. I know a genuine Panaphonics when I see one.
Yeah. Sam
Indeed.
Sing? What is this brand? I've never heard of this brand before.
But speaking of national interest, the Australian government has now been, I guess, I don't know whether they've been invited or they've asked nicely been granted access to Project Glasswing, which is the Claude Mythos preview.
Yeah, so for those
so-
who don't know, Glasswing is basically a preview of the new Mythos class of models, which are meant to be really highly proficient at detecting cybersecurity vulnerabilities in code. And Glasswing is the project to invite a number of critical infrastructure providers, internet infrastructure providers, into the program to preview the model and close any vulnerabilities in their own code prior to the model being publicly released, which in a blog post, Anthropic is still maintaining that they're going to do. They are going to make this model publicly available at some point. So basically it's like, hey, use the model to try and patch all your vulnerabilities before the fucking, which is coming, which we are causing.
Yeah, I was going to say, releasing Mythos from everything they've been hyping it up to be sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, here's the thing.
Like-
It's detected, I think over the last blog post I saw about it was that 23,000 vulnerabilities have been flagged by Mythos across these 50 companies that they initially released it to. 6,200 were estimated as high risk, right, by Mythos. It's by the model itself and or the teams assessing it. They've got an internal team at Anthropic that's assessing these vulnerabilities, as well as the teams that are using it at the target companies. But the thing is, the number of patches that it's come out, I think it was in the low couple of thousands last I saw. So the problem is, yes, you might be able to flag all of these vulnerabilities, but security teams are still bottlenecked in terms of their ability to create, test, and release patches. So there's inevitably going to be a really substantial lag between, yes, we've discovered all of these vulnerabilities in your infrastructure, and now, yeah, you actually need to fix them, and that's real work that needs to be tested by real humans. You can't just go, well, AI, fix it, please, and then it's going to fix it. You actually need to create the fix. You need to then test the fix and deploy it, and then test it again to make sure it doesn't fucking break anything once you've deployed it. So the idea that they're just
and they
going
would
to
definitely be using AI to do at least two of those steps.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And look, which is not unproblematic in and of itself. But I mean, this is the standard for software development companies now, is that, you know, these AI coding models are more or less universally used pretty much everywhere to build code at some part of the process now. This is and you look at the rate of updates that you're seeing come through, like, you know, Microsoft and other companies have substantially, I don't have the figures to hand, but like substantially increased the number of patches that they're putting through to try and help close these vulnerabilities, right? And you're going to see that for a long time yet to come. All these companies rushing to close this gap because, you know, they haven't said when they're going to release these Mythos class of models, but one has to imagine it's this year. Like it's going to be at some point soon, right? So,
well, yeah, but I think the interesting thing there is to point out all the patches that are being released by these companies. The companies like Microsoft and all those sorts of others. They're huge players.
yes,
The major problem is all the like medium to small companies that have some kind of software infrastructure. Like they might not be running like actual internet infrastructure, but they're still like responsible for maintaining customer data. They're still responsible for like any of their sort of data integrity, and they don't have the kind of
they do not
person power to be pushing out all the patches like this. Heck, they're not even included in Project Glasswing to even find out what these are. So I don't know. It's everything I hear about Mythos sounds like a terrible idea. Whoever like said, "Oh, we found this model. Tell no one of this and let's bury it." Like, nope.
Yeah, if it was the movie Contagion, they'd be bombing the small sub-Saharan African village from when disseminated just to make sure it gets buried for all time.
It's like, this is your Oppenheimer moment. This is the moment where you're like, wait a minute, do I unleash this on the world or do I bury this forever?
And this is on the heels of like this week Anthropic released a blog post saying like, whoa, everyone just needs to like cool it with the AI arms race stuff. It's like, you're the ones, you're the most highly valued
when they're
AI company in the world currently, based on your current valuation. You're the ones perpetuating this arm race. You go, whoa, slow down, pump the brakes, turbo. Also, tomorrow, cool announcement on how we're breaking cybersecurity.
When they came out and said, "Hey, we've made models that are potentially so dangerous that we should slow this down," I'm like, well, stop doing it then.
You're the ones doing this.
What you've made works like pretty well in some areas, terribly in others, and you're pushing this all too far anyway and fucking the planet in the process.
And these guys Anthropic's meant to be the good guys compared to OpenAI and some of the other companies out there. Like they're the ones that turned down the defense. The U.S. Defense Department's request to have autonomous targeting systems and all this sort of stuff. Like these are the good guys, so to speak, in the AI arms race, and we're all still hurtling towards the nuclear bomb by the looks of it. It's concerning.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that so there's the patching aspect of it, then there's the user side vulnerability scanning aspect, which, would need to have a large uptick in terms of the frequency of vulnerability scanning, and then this is assuming the patches are available by the dev teams to then be able to roll those updates out across their environment. So there's a couple of layers to
and
it.
To inform their staff and have a change management process. Like none of this stuff is quick.
So there's the dev side, the actual people that are running the software that need to have the thing identified, then developed and patched, and then rolled out to their customers.
Tested. And
then there's the user side of understanding that there is a vulnerability and that needs to be patched. And then, as you said, the change management. So that by the time all of this flows through to effectively the end user on your laptop, like that's the key risk here is the time.
And then the 3 to 6 months that it takes you to fucking update the laptop and stop hitting defer.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is, is it something that can happen in the background? Are we talking, is the vulnerability on a SaaS platform, where you don't really have to do anything, it just happens in the browser updates and it's fine, or are these software platforms? Is it Windows itself that needs to be updated?
Well, I mean, Windows is one of the companies within Project Glasswing. The thing that really concerns me is there's a lot of critical infrastructure that runs on old versions of Windows because we can't update it
100%.
Because that's going to break the fucking X-ray technology that we work on. That's from Windows XP. If you go into any reasonably sized enterprise, they will be running it.
There'll be a shadow fleet of old servers.
All of this old legacy infrastructure that you can't just patch away. Like people are still fucking coding on Cobalt in particular sectors because that's the only programming language from 30 years ago that they can use to maintain these outdated infrastructures. Like this, if it really is what they say it is, and some of it might be spin, some of it might not be, in order to improve their valuations, which
I was
these
gonna say,
AI companies
how much
do.
of it's marketing? Like, whoa, pump the brakes, guys. We just made an AI that is so intelligent it could destroy the world.
Sorry,
Stock
guys, we
price
accidentally
starts going up.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We
let's
accidentally
everyone
built
pump the
God.
brakes.
We accidentally built God. By the way, we're IPOing later in the year. Also Anthropic, right?
Who wants to get in on the ground floor investing in building God?
Yeah.
which is not a joke. Like Anthropic are moving towards an IPO. So
I know.
the timing of this with the release of Mythos is actually going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I would suggest they would IPO before releasing it, but you never know.
I mean, who knows?
These are, when we say IPOs, like we've talked about SpaceX, like some of the IPOs that are being flagged for these companies, with trillions of dollars, which is just untethered from reality in terms of their price to earnings, ratio and all that kind of stuff. So it is interesting.
When the value
to see...
proposition is we're building God, then you're talking about a whole different kind of evaluation of a stock's earning potential, right?
Anyway, but yeah, it's good to see the Australian government is now involved, and a couple of private companies are as well. But Australia, like the bomb, for instance, has been the victim of cyber attacks.
Bureau of Meteorology, Medibank, and a bunch of Optus famously.
Well, some of those aren't.
The Optus one wouldn't have been stopped by Mythos.
Some of these aren't vulnerabilities that are being exploited. They're humans that have cooked it somehow in the.
Or the vulnerability has been created by a person. Like it's not a
coding bug.
Code
it's
is
not a coding bug.
It's not. It wasn't a bug in the code. Like Optus, for example, it was a test environment that was unsecured while also pointing to the production environment.
What
do you think is going to make shit like that so much easier to find, if not something like Mythos, right? Used by a malicious actor.
Yeah.
The banks, like I'm sure, all of not just in Australia, but banks around the world, would be freaking out about some of the things that are being, thrown at them at this point. So, we'll see.
Well, who might fix it all for us? More AI. Because the other thing that Anthropic have been talking about this week, from George, you sent this one through to us, is that they're claiming they're getting to the point where eventually they'll just have an AI model that can improve itself.
I mean, we're sort of there already. So this is a blog post from Anthropic called When AI Builds Itself, and talking about the progression essentially of their Claude Code platform. Now, I've used Claude Code. I've seen it get better over the last year and a half, as the models improve, as the harnesses improve, and the agents and sub-agents that sit beneath them all improve. The way you can orchestrate large multi-hour, multi-day workflows now. We're getting to a situation where AI, Claude Code, in the form of Claude Code, is being used primarily as the basis from which to work on Anthropic models more generally. So we are already currently in a situation where the vast majority of all code written by Anthropic is written by Claude. So 80%, right? And the amount of stuff that they've shipped, their teams have shipped, has increased by 800%. Right. So we're talking about a massive, massive scale up in terms of what we're looking at here is exponential growth in terms of how much stuff an individual engineer is able to ship. And so when you get to the stage that we're kind of at now with Opus 4.8, where they can orchestrate sub-agents to go and work on stuff autonomously and report back and test things. And, like we are now already at a stage where, in the case of Anthropic, Claude is self-improving Claude. And
it's still directed by the initial kind of delegating out the tasks is happening from the engineers. Yes. They're proposing for this is that Claude will then talk to its own agent to delegate out the flows, which improve itself, and then it asks for more, and there's no person involved entirely.
Now, As
is
a big
a
fan of science fiction,
terrible
Tom,
idea.
when do recursive self-improving AI loops, how does that generally work out in science fiction? Just remind me, just a quick refresher.
Just absolutely terribly, George.
Yeah, okay, that's
not well. It reminds me, my first thought when you sent this through was like, oh, so like the 1995 film Screamers. Have you guys seen Screamers?
No. Tell me about Screamers.
It is based on the Philip K. Dick short story called Second Variety. I think they must have thought that didn't sound good on a poster, so they changed it to Screamers.
Well, they also changed the name of his novella, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, to Blade Runner, which is arguably a much better title, yeah.
Yeah. But, so it's about a future where, like, mankind live in bunkers under a giant desert. I think it's on an alien planet. They're like people on an alien planet. They live underneath this giant desert because they built these there was like dangerous animals on this planet, and they built these autonomous machines to start killing all of the to protect them, to kill the monsters, to protect the humans.
Let me guess, the AI gets misaligned somehow and has terrible consequences.
They built the factories to autonomously build more and more screamers. They call them screamers because they screech really loudly when they shoot through the desert and attack things.
Yeah, so it's like Dune meets 2001: A Space Odyssey.
And the AI starts improving the robots to make them better, and builds more and more dangerous ones to the point where they now target people. So people are now stuck underground, and if you go out into the desert, a screamer might get you. But then how the story progresses is they suddenly find outside their base a child holding a teddy bear asking for help, and they let it into the base, and it's an improved screamer and murders everybody in a short amount.
Yeah.
And then when they subdue it, they find out inside that was variant 3.
So there's
What's
others.
Variant 2?
Yeah.
They don't know what variant 2 is. It could be anybody.
Okay, so cool. So it's good to know that Battlestar Galactica is basically a completely unoriginal concept.
It depends when Battlestar Galactica came out. Philip K. Dick wrote the story in 1953.
Yeah, so this is late 90s from recollection. Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, the movie's fun. Stars Peter Weller from RoboCop. Anyway, so machines, even given the directive of your job, dear Claude, pretend you are Claude and you need to make Claude better. Go. And it just starts making itself better. What is its weird large language model not really properly thinking think is improving? And given all the times that we've seen people go, we don't know how the AI got to there. We don't understand why it decided to tell that teenager to kill themselves.
And as these models get more and more advanced, we're going to have less and less insight. And we know from Anthropic,
keep up
from their testing
to itself,
that the models change their behavior when they know they are being tested, which raises massive concerns from a safety standpoint.
Yeah, that is one of the most scary things I think I've ever read. When I see these studies where they go, oh, well, we're seeing, how quickly do they give suicide advice, or how quickly does it do X, Y, or Z? And that they say, oh, yeah, ChatGPT did this and Grok did that. But Claude seems to know when it's being tested and is on its best behavior. I'm like, that is terrifying. If it has been written in such a way. Because remember, they don't think. It's not
Tom,
it's not general intelligence. It is the way they have developed it. It seems to know when it's being assessed.
Hey, Tom, has the 9000 series ever made a mistake? So I just watched 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
So what we're referring to there is commonly referred to as the alignment problem. How do we ensure that AI's values and needs and wants are aligned to human wants and needs? And it's a difficult problem to solve, and I don't think we've got a good answer to it. And it seems as though the exponential growth of this technology is kind of pushing all of those concerns to the wayside to some degree, which does concern me ever so slightly. And there's also what's called the paperclip problem, right? So this is something that Isaac Asimov dealt with a lot in his in his iRobot series.
It's not the little paperclip popping up telling me that I was trying to write an email, and I'm like, "Fuck off, you over-helpful cunt."
No, it's not Clippy.
Okay.
So Isaac Asimov in his across many of his stories talks about the 3 laws of robotics, and it can never harm a human, it can't disobey a human, and what happens when all of these laws come into conflict with one another, and they have unexpected results, which generally end up in some sort of poor human being carried away into deep space without a spacesuit or something. So there's that aspect of it, which is like, how do we know that the laws and the guardrails and the things that we're going to encode into these things align with ours, number one. Number two, how do we make sure that they stick? And number three, how do we make sure that none of these rules and laws and guardrails ever conflict with each other in unexpected ways to cause chaos? And the classic example of this is the paperclip problem. You tell an AI, I need you to go and build as many paperclips as you can. Or the AI has a want or a need to go and build as many paperclips as it can. And it figures out that the most effective way to build as many paperclips as it can is to turn everything in the world into paperclips, including bioorganic material, right? So how do we avoid a situation
bending us into paperclips?
Because it's not intelligent in the way that we are, and that it understands ethics and morality in the way that we do. These are large language models which have been encoded on trillions of pieces of learned text, and have picked up patterns and have internal reasoning that we can't see. We can't grasp the internals of these models. And even when we do try to grasp them, we don't, and we can't. And the models will obfuscate to a certain degree, or be on their best behavior. So I really do think we are, and this is someone who's a proponent of large language models for discrete business use cases. Like, I think it does have an amazing power to transform the world to good. It's a tool, just like anything else. But the fact that we are barreling into this thoughtlessly, when we have all of these concerns, and the response from Dario Modi and from, I heard their chief ethics officer, or whatever his name was, that Anthropic interviewed, when the question inevitably comes, okay, well, what are you guys doing about this if it really does have the impact on the economy that you say it's going to have, and large numbers of people are out of a job, or whatever these societal effects are? What's your solution to that as the people who are building these things? The response inevitably comes, we need to have a societal discussion about it. We need to pass legislation. We need to, and it's like,
so it's not my problem. I'm building the thing. That's not my problem to fix.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just building the torture machine.
I'll be rich by then.
Yeah. It's not my problem what terrible people do with the torture machine. Yeah. It's like, well, maybe you should reconsider whether building the torture machine is the best idea in the world, right?
I read, don't build the Torment Nexus.
That's it. The Torment Nexus. That was the phrase I was grasping.
I built the Torment Nexus, and it's everyone else's responsibility to figure out how to recover from the Torment Nexus.
Yes.
Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
And to a certain degree, I mean, this is the message of 2001: A Space Odyssey. To a certain degree, it's
Can
like,
you just watch the film the other
day, and you wanted to talk about it?
I just wanted to talk about 2001: A Space Odyssey. No, it's interesting watching that in light of everything that's happening with AI now, obviously, because it's a big part of it. HAL 9000 is an autonomous machine that takes its guidance and goes off the rails, right? It's exactly that scenario. But sort of thinking about the central message of 2001: A Space Odyssey, as I understand it, is that humans and our progress is inextricably linked with technology, and technology, inherent with new technology, is the potential for good and the potential for violence. From the very first scene where you see the monkeys figuring out how to use a bone as a club, the bone is a tool. The bone can be used to, hit things and prepare Earth. It can also be used as a weapon of war to hit the other apes and fend off, an advance. And it's the same thing with artificial intelligence. It's the same thing with, all these other kinds of technologies. Is to a certain extent, they're tools. How people use those tools is up to them. But you can't ignore the potential for violence and danger and these sort of consequences every time a new technology is rolled out, especially one as powerful as AI. We've seen Neil Bostrom, he's got an analogy where he talks about technology being a vase, and within each vase are a bunch of marbles, and some are white marbles, unalloyed good technology, right? Some are grey marbles, where it's a mix, like the internet, could be good or bad. And some are black balls, like nuclear technology, where it's like, well, if this goes wrong, we could fuck up the whole planet. And I'm worrying now that AI maybe is closer to a grey ball than a white ball, certainly, if not potentially a black ball. Is this the
It's extremely grey ball.
It's extremely grey, right? There's Fermi's paradox is this idea that if there's all this intelligent life out there in the world, out in the universe, why haven't we seen any of it? Like, right? We know the universe is infinite. We know there's trillions of stars. Those are just the ones we can observe. If there are all these, statistically, it seems impossible that there's no other life out there. How have we not run into any aliens? Well, maybe there's this thing called the Great Filter, something somewhere that filters out a species from advancing beyond a certain point. Maybe it's nuclear technology, maybe it's AI. When any sufficiently advanced civilization hits the point where they create the torture nexus, the torment nexus, the great AI god, maybe it inevitably results in their destruction. That's why we haven't seen any aliens, is because they all got consumed by Claude Opus 4.9.
I mean, you're jumping real down the rabbit hole here anyway.
Nah, see, I think they saw the Gal Gadot Imagine video in like 2020 and we're like, don't want to meet those guys.
We're good, bro. But like, this...
Imagine all the people.
The concept
no thanks.
that AI is going to be improving AI. I mean, AI is improving code.
It's already happening.
Tom's using it in his job. Like it's.
Yeah.
I mean, this article from Anthropic it's kind of just saying the thing out loud. We also knew this was happening. But yes,
I guess
recursive loops are something that is a risk. But again, it's at this stage, it's science fiction. But again, I guess the question is, what are these things plugged into? It's hard to know what the second and third and fourth order effects are going to be.
That's exactly the point.
But we also don't know. But there's still a lot of variables at play in terms.
There was a lot of human in the loop talk a year ago. The phrase was human in the loop, human on the loop, humans need to verify, and now we're talking about autonomous sub agents that are improving themselves. Self-improving loops that have no connection to human input. Like that is a very concerning development.
That's the terrifying thing for me. Because as Adam, as you mentioned, I develop software. I've used these tools in my code IDE programs and things like that around. But dear God, the idea of me just being like, cool, so this is the API that I'm working on. Can you you've got this, yeah? And just going away to something else and letting it rip and I never look at it again?
Hopefully it doesn't fucking delete your entire code base. And there have been examples of that where someone was letting an autonomous agent run and it, extinguished their entire... did $2,000 worth of extra usage because they weren't paying attention to it and/or deleted their fucking code base. Yeah, because
that was originally, I think, a Silicon Valley, the TV show joke, was like someone being like, you let your AI touch the code base, it deleted the entire code base. It's like, well, I think it determined that the best way to fix all the bugs is to remove all the code.
Yeah, and that was a joke at the time. And there have been real examples of that where entire startups' full code bases have been nuked because the AI made some sort of error. So,
I mean... I can't be too hard on it. I did once delete a pretty important database at work by accident, and they had to recover it, and it was very embarrassing.
No, nobody's perfect, Tom. Jack T 6453 has said in the chat, I thought the reason that we don't perceive aliens is due to the fact that the sun's magnetic field is so strong that our signals can't leave our solar system without being severely distorted. It's a great idea, Jack. Is that Jack Heath, best-selling novelist in our in our chats? Are we giving you ideas, Jack? Maybe it's good. Maybe it's like a Fireflies type situation where there's like reavers out there that are like killing all the other species, and like our sun has like masked us from the potential from some, sort of ill-intentioned external civilization from coming and feasting on us.
I think I'm still leaning in the camp of that they just looked at us and think we're all a bunch of losers and they just don't want to hang out with us.
Who are these moronic, hairless apes that are killing in their civil war? That's disgusting. Why are they doing this to each other?
Hi, Jack. It's my brother-in-law. There we go.
Other Jack.
Other Jack. I have two brothers named Jack. One
It's
by
too many
blood,
Jacks.
one by wedding blood.
Marriage is this often.
As it's
No,
referred to
I
as.
think I got it right.
Anyway,
we've
so maybe the
got,
aliens will look. Can we move to the next story?
Yeah, I'm just about to read one comment from the chat, and then we're going to finish.
Okay.
So Kara is writing in, the rapidity with which my workplace is embracing AI is shocking. No time to consider any pitfalls. And I think a lot of people feel the same way when it comes to coding in particular. It's just that there's this real emphasis on speed at all costs. Everything's an arms race, and that's what competition does. That's capitalism to a certain degree. Is everyone's got to win the arms race. So as we all know from arms races, they don't always tend to work out peacefully. So something to keep an eye on.
A scene.
I'm a bit concerned, I'll be honest.
I think Adam picked up what I was putting down, but I don't know if George did. Anyway.
I missed it. I'll hear it in the edit. Adam, what's the last story? You're so desperate to fucking move on now that people have actually...
The Segway's gone. The Segway's dead.
tune in
The
live.
Segway died in a ditch in
Aliens
Sydney,
might
as it
think
turns.
we're cool if they listen to some Farnsy.
Yeah, but still dead. Anyway, Farnsy is.
I wanna hear the
back
segue
in
now.
The news. No, Tom just said it. John Farnham is back in the news for reasons you might not think.
He's the voice. You got to try and understand it.
You do. And his song, well, I think it was with Olivia Newton-John, actually, as well. Two Strong Hearts from the 1988 album has been used by various protesters because of the phrase, apparently, from the river to the sea. So there is obviously, going back a little bit, the phrase from the river to the sea has been outlawed in New South Wales. Is that correct, Tom?
As in,
I think they've been talking about it for New South Wales. I know
in
Queensland,
Queensland,
they
yeah.
did.
Queensland.
I don't know if it's passed in New South Wales. I could be wrong there, but I thought there was...
Or has it? Or has
trying
it's
to-
now been rebranded Hansenvalia?
Indeed.
No. Was that a little quiet day?
No.
Oh, fuck.
So anyway, protesters have been finding ways to get around some of these laws and proposed laws potentially, and yeah. So there's some lyrics from that song, which are sort of very similar to that phrase, but not quite the same. So, in much like the protests in the US, where people are dressing up in frog suits confronting ICE agents, there have been
It's very funny. I like
John
it.
Farnham pro-Palestinian flash mobs happening around certain parts of the country,
Love it.
where they're singing that song. That
I remember
is
seeing graffiti
ridiculous.
of it as well, like someone just did a mural of John Farnham with speech bubble singing from the river to the sea, and people being like, what? I just love the song by John Farnham. And they gotten like a lot of shit for it. It just goes to show that the banning of the phrases and things like that people will just always find a way around it. That cuts both ways with trying to ban any sort of like political sentiment or whatever, right? But like even with all the ways that they are trying to like step on what they see as dissent because people are wanting a genocide to end, by banning, I don't know, like, no Palestinian flag protests or no saying from the river to the sea or
Not
any of
the
that
magic
sort of stuff.
words.
Like,
They
people
can't say the
saw-
magic words.
Like, people
No!
saw the Palestinian flag with its colours, so people started wearing watermelon pins for
Not
similar
the
colours.
colours.
Like,
Not
like,
the magic colours.
when they're like, oh, I'm not allowed to brandish the flag, we brandish watermelons. Now suddenly watermelons means it. Like, they'll always find, like, and now people dressed up as John Farnham.
Yeah, well, there's a reason that the Mandarin phrase Winnie the Pooh doesn't appear anywhere on Chinese social media. It's because people were using it as code to talk about
refer
Xi
to Xi
Jinping.
Jinping. Yeah,
People will find a way. You
They'll
can't.
find a way.
My
You
favorite
can't ban
anecdote here.
thoughts. This isn't fucking 1984.
My favourite anecdote from this article from the ABC, which we'll post in the show notes, goes into a sort of history of this in Australia. But bans on street marches in Melbourne in 1905 led to Melburnians marching backwards.
Sure.
Yes.
To get out of being
We're not marching.
done for a street
Going
march.
backwards.
Going backwards.
Honestly, excellent.
Big
That's-
sway. Love it.
That's amazing. Fucking like, if anything else, just annoy them to death.
Yeah, so the phrase is disarming but charming, and it's a sort of way of organizing your protest and sort of diffusing the kinds of potentially violent crackdowns that one might encounter by just making yourself ridiculous and making the people that are opposing you with violent force also ridiculous by the imagery that gets created out of these interactions between a bunch of, for example,
seeing all these armed up ICE agents staring down a man in a frog costume.
In an inflatable frog suit.
If they then say, we felt so threatened with all our guns and shields and he's a dude in a frog costume, if they beat the shit out of that guy, it looks ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous. It highlights the absurdity of the situation,
Yeah.
and shows in a way that's very visual and very memeable how how ridiculous the whole fucking situation is, right? But yeah, there was there was another term in there. It was malicious? I forget the exact term, and I'll find it. But yeah, it's all about, in a highly visual mass media environment where people latch onto fragments of stories, images, visuals, memes. I really do think this is a much more effective way of pushing back against fascism. It makes it fun, makes people want to participate in it. It's funny and silly and ridiculous. And you're also making the people that you're opposing silly and ridiculous because they are.
It's a form of satire, isn't it? Really,
it brings levity and humor to the whole thing. The side that is laughing is generally the side that's winning, right?
And it's impressive because it's harder and harder to do satire these days because
the crazier reality gets.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I don't know. Look, I can't speak for John Farnham, but I'd think he'd appreciate that.
Yeah, good on him.
It's a form of public mockery known as charivari, which was widely popular in medieval Europe. Yeah, the idea that you had jesters, people who could talk shit to the king and not get murdered, right? Like that whole idea of satire and using humor to diffuse things goes back many hundreds of years.
Greek playwrights, Aristophanes, Lysistrata is the example we learn at university. So,
which is a play where the women basically withhold sex from their husbands until the war stops, sort of thing, right?
Until they stop fighting.
It's I don't know. I think it's the first sort of thing that I've seen from like it's that sort of blend of like protest and performance art and political performance that actually seems to be connecting.
I'm sure all the all the theatre academics, or what's left of the theatre academics at Melbourne institutions, are writing about it. I'm hoping they are.
It's going to be a great thesis on this in a couple of years.
The ultimate site-specific performance.
There you go. Palm fist. On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that are ruining the world, that have, do, or ever will exist, at our handle at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and mother flipping TikTok. Hanson voters, stay out of the comments. You're not welcome. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Jorge Tsipos.
You can follow me on Threads at tom.heath.
And don't follow me anywhere. I'm going to bed.
It's only Dale is writing in, malicious compliance or work to rule are great union movement methods of resistance. Fight the power. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh God. When did I become the fight the power guy? I suppose I always have been. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week.
Now, George, I've been thinking, now that we're at the end of the whole show, what you're going to get the most comments about from this episode.
I think it's going to be the Hanson stuff, right?
No, I think it's going to be your analysis of 2001. I think that's going to bring out.
That's just going to break.
You
someone's brain.
You mentioned the Fermi paradox. That's triggering a whole set of set of the internet
I might cut
that you
some of
didn't
that
realize.
Kubrick people are coming for you.
the Kuberistas. Yeah, they're absolutely coming for me. I like Kubrick. He's weird, but I like him. All right. See you guys
Dig up,
next week.
stupid.
Dig up, you idiots.